The war at the edge of human space had ended only 3 days ago, but the silence felt heavier than the fighting ever had. Wreckage drifted through the black like broken bones. Burned hulls, shattered weapons, and frozen bodies floated without sound. Human recovery ships moved slowly, their lights sweeping across the debris field. Their job was simple and grim: search for survivors, collect the dead, and make sure nothing dangerous was left behind. Lieutenant Aaron Hale sat strapped into a small recovery shuttle, watching the stars slide past the viewport. He was tired in a way sleep could not fix. His armor was scratched, his face unshaven, and his eyes carried too many memories. Still, his hands were steady on the controls. "Scanning Sector 7, the ship's AI said calmly. "Minimal life signs detected." Aaron leaned forward. "Minimal doesn't mean zero. Mark it." The shuttle turned, engines humming softly. As they approached the coordinates, the lights revealed a small alien escape pod wedged between two massive wrecks. Its surface was cracked, power flickering weakly. "Life sign confirmed," the AI continued. "One occupant, critical condition." Aaron exhaled. "All right. Let's bring them home." The pod belonged to the Kyrlian Coalition, the same force humanity had just finished fighting. Aaron knew the shape well. He also knew what Kyrlians believed about humans. Their propaganda called humans beasts, slavers, devourers of the weak. According to them, capture by a human was worse than death. He guided the shuttle closer and locked magnetic clamps onto the pod. With careful movements, he pulled it into the cargo bay and sealed the hatch. When the pod finally opened, stale air rushed out. Inside, curled against the far wall, was an alien woman. She was smaller than he expected. Her skin was pale blue, marked with dark stress patterns. Thin ridges ran along her temples, and her eyes, large and silver, snapped open the moment light touched her face. She tried to move, failed, and hissed weakly. Aaron froze, hands raised, weapon still holstered. "It's okay," he said quietly, though he knew she probably did not understand his words. "You're safe." Her gaze locked onto him, sharp with fear. She searched his armor, his hands, his face. Her breathing became shallow and fast. One trembling hand reached toward a broken shard of metal near her leg. The AI whispered through Aaron's earpiece. "She is attempting self-harm. Cultural response to capture." Aaron took a slow step back and sat down on the floor, lowering himself to her level. He made sure his hands stayed visible. "No cages," he said softly. "No chains." The translator began working, projecting meaning rather than words. Her eyes widened as understanding flickered across her face. She laughed suddenly, a broken, bitter sound. "Lies," she said, her voice rough. "You hunt us, you break us, I will not be your pet." The word hit harder than any insult. Pet, owned, controlled. Aaron shook his head slowly. "I don't want a pet." She watched him closely, waiting for the strike, the order, the cruelty. None came. Instead, he reached into a medical kit and slid it across the floor toward her, stopping well out of arm's reach. Then he leaned back against the wall and waited. Minutes passed. The shuttle hummed softly. Her hand hovered over the metal shard, then trembled and fell away. Slowly, painfully, she crawled toward the kit. Every movement looked like it cost her more strength than she had left. She collapsed halfway, body shaking. "Vitals dropping," the AI warned. Aaron moved instantly but carefully. He approached from the side, slow and predictable. When he reached her, he paused, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He lifted her gently, surprised by how light she felt, and carried her to the med bench. She stiffened but did not fight. Her eyes never left his face. The AI deployed auto-injectors and sealed wounds. Aaron stepped back again, arms crossed, giving her space. "Why?" she asked faintly once the pain eased. "Why not bind me?" "Because you're hurt," he replied, "and because you're a person." That answer confused her more than any threat could have. She slept soon after, exhaustion finally winning. Aaron stayed in the shuttle until the recovery ship accepted the transfer. Even then, he watched until the medical doors closed. On the main ship, the atmosphere was quiet. Crew members moved with tired purpose. No one cheered about the war being over. Too much had been lost. Aaron stood outside the medical bay when the alien woman woke. She came awake in panic, sitting up too fast, gasping. The room was clean and white, no restraints, no guards. A blanket covered her body. She looked down at herself, then around the room. Aaron stepped into view slowly. "You're on a human medical ship." Her eyes narrowed. "Where is the cage?" "There isn't one." She searched again, disbelief etched into every sharp movement. "You expect me to believe this?" "You don't have to believe anything," he said. "You're free to leave the room when you're strong enough. For now, you need rest." She laughed again, quieter this time. "Free," she repeated as if testing the word. "That word does not belong to victors." "Maybe it should," Aaron said. She studied him, then looked away. "My people taught me humans enjoy breaking others." "Your people taught you wrong." Silence stretched between them. Her body began to shake, small at first, then violently. Her breathing hitched. The ship jumped into hyperspace without warning, the familiar ripple of space folding in on itself. She screamed. Before Aaron could react, she scrambled off the bed and stumbled toward him. Her strength failed halfway and she fell straight into him. Instinct took over. He caught her. She clutched his armor, fingers digging in, eyes wide with terror. Her breathing was wild, her heart racing so fast he could feel it through the suit. "It's moving," she cried. "The void is tearing. It's okay," he said firmly, holding her steady. "It's just a jump, you're safe." She didn't seem to hear him. Her mind was somewhere else, trapped in old fear. Slowly, without realizing it, she shifted closer, curling inward, pressing against him like a child seeking shelter. Aaron hesitated. Every rule of engagement, every protocol told him to step back. But the tremors in her body told him something else. So he sat down on the bench, letting her stay where she was. He did not wrap his arms around her. He did not stroke her back. He simply stayed still and solid, a living anchor. Minutes passed. Her breathing slowed. Her grip loosened. When the jump ended, she realized where she was. She froze. Slowly, she pulled back just enough to look up at him. Her face flushed darker blue with embarrassment and anger. She straightened as much as her injured body allowed and lifted her chin. "Do not misunderstand," she said sharply. "I am not your pet." Aaron met her gaze calmly. "I know." She stared at him, searching for mockery. There was none. Confusion warred with pride in her eyes. Finally, she turned away and lay back on the bed, pulling the blanket up around herself. But she did not move to the far edge this time. Aaron stood. "I'll be outside if you need anything." As he left, her voice stopped him. Softer now, human. "Yes, thank you for not using me." He nodded once. "Get some rest." The door closed quietly behind him. In the hallway, Aaron leaned against the wall and let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Behind that door was an enemy who should have hated him. Instead, she had trusted him in her weakest moment. He knew then that whatever came next, politics, accusations, war tribunals, this small choice would matter. Humanity had won the war with fire and steel. But something else had just begun. The medical wing stayed quiet for 2 full cycles after the hyperspace jump. Soft lights dimmed and brightened to match human rest hours. Machines hummed in a calm, steady rhythm. For the alien woman, sleep came in pieces, broken by memories she could not control. When she woke again, she did not scream. She lay still, eyes open, staring at the smooth white ceiling. Her body hurt, but the sharp edge of pain was gone. Bandages covered her side and shoulder. The air felt clean, safe. That thought made her tense. Safe was dangerous. She slowly turned her head. The room was the same, no restraints, no guards, no hidden fields pressing against her skin, just one chair near the wall and a small table with water and nutrient gel. She waited, nothing happened. Carefully, she pushed herself up. Her muscles protested, but they obeyed. She swung her legs over the bed and sat there, breathing slowly, ready to react. The door slid open with a soft sound. Her body reacted before her mind. She stood too fast, swayed, and caught herself on the bed. Her eyes locked onto the human who entered. It was the same one, the soldier who had pulled her from the pod, the one who had not chained her, the one whose lap she had curled into like a weak hatchling. Shame burned hot in her chest. He stopped when he saw her standing. "You shouldn't be up yet," he said calmly. "Do not command me," she snapped. He raised one hand slightly. "Not a command, advice." She watched him closely. He wore simple duty clothes now, not armor. He looked smaller without it, less like a monster from stories, more like a tired male with too much weight behind his eyes. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I'm assigned as your liaison," he replied. "Name S. Aaron Hale." She hesitated, then said stiffly, "I am Lyrian of the Caerlean Outer Clans." He nodded, as if that meant something important. Maybe it did. "Nice to meet you, Lyrian." No one had ever said her name like that. Not gently, not without claiming something in return. She did not answer. Aaron moved to the table and picked up the water. "You're dehydrated. Drink," she glared. "Poison." "If I wanted you dead," he said evenly, "I wouldn't wait this long." That annoyed her because it was true. She took the container from him but did not let their fingers touch. She drank slowly, watching his reflection in the metal wall. He turned away, giving her privacy. That too confused her. When she finished, she asked, "Why do humans pretend?" "Pretend what?" "That you care," she said, "about enemies." Aaron leaned against the wall. "We don't pretend," she scoffed. "In my people's wars, captives are tools, pets, breeding stock, warnings. Humans fight harder than us, yet you act soft." "We fight hard so we don't have to act hard all the time," he replied. She did not understand that. Not fully. A sharp sound echoed through the ship as a distant door slammed. Lyrian flinched, her hand tightening around the empty container. Her breathing sped up before she could stop it. Aaron noticed. "It's just a cargo hatch," he said quickly. "You're safe." Her body did not believe him. Her vision narrowed. The walls felt closer, the air thinner. Without thinking, she stepped closer to him. She caught herself halfway and froze, horrified at her own weakness. Aaron did not move. He did not reach out. He simply stood there, solid and calm like before. Slowly, her panic eased. She stepped back, straightening. "Do not mistake that," she said coldly. "Fear response." "Understood," he said. That made her angrier than if he had argued. Later that cycle, she was allowed to leave the medical room. No escort, no cuffs. The door opened when she touched the panel. It was a test. She stepped into the hallway, expecting alarms. None sounded. Humans passed by, some glancing at her with curiosity, others barely noticing. No one bared teeth. No one bowed. No one reached for weapons. She felt exposed, naked without chains. Aaron walked a respectful distance behind her. "You don't have to go far," he said. "Just stretch your legs." "I am not an animal needing exercise," she snapped. "Didn't say you were." She stopped and turned. "Then stop treating me like a fragile thing." He met her gaze. "You were dying 2 days ago." That shut her up. They reached a viewport overlooking space. Stars burned quietly beyond the glass. Wreckage still drifted far off, tiny points of light where battles had ended. Lyrian pressed a hand to the window. "My people will say I betrayed them," she said softly. "By surviving. By living," she corrected. "Among humans." Aaron said nothing. After a moment she asked, "What will you do with me?" "That's up to command," he admitted, "but no one's forcing anything yet." "That is not an answer. It's the honest one." She studied him again. Humans valued honesty, that much was clear. It was strange to her, dangerous even. That night she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt the pull of hyperspace again, the endless tearing, the sense of being swallowed. Her claws dug into the bed as she fought the memories. The door opened quietly. She was on her feet in an instant, breath sharp, eyes wide. Aaron stood there, hands visible. Medical AI flagged elevated stress. "Thought I'd check." She hesitated, then turned away. "Leave." He did not, but he also did not move closer. You don't have to face it alone, he said. I do, she replied. That is how my people survive. And is it working? He asked gently. The question hit harder than any insult. Her shoulders trembled once. She sat down heavily on the bed. The fight drained out of her all at once, leaving only exhaustion. Aaron sat on the chair far enough not to crowd her. He spoke quietly. You don't owe me anything, not trust, not answers, just stay alive. She laughed weakly. Humans are strange. Yeah, he agreed. We get that a lot. Silence filled the room again. Not heavy this time, just present. Without looking at him, she asked, if I leave this ship, will you hunt me? No, even if command orders it. I'll argue first, he said honestly. She glanced at him, surprised. You would defy orders for an enemy. For a person, he corrected. Something inside her shifted, just a little. Later, when sleep finally came, it was deeper than before. She dreamed of warmth instead of chains. When she woke, she realized something unsettling. She had not curled away from the center of the bed. She had curled toward the side where the door was, toward where the human usually stood. The ship changed after that. Not in any way the crew talked about, not in logs or reports, but in the small spaces between routines. Lyrian began to notice it in how humans moved around her. They did not circle her like prey. They did not avoid her like a threat. They simply adjusted the way water flows around a stone. She did not know what to do with that. Days passed. Her wounds healed faster than expected, helped by both alien biology and human medicine. She was given clothing made to fit her shape, not uniforms, not restraints. Simple fabric, soft and warm. She told herself it meant nothing. Still, she kept it on. Aaron continued to visit, never on a fixed schedule. Sometimes he brought food compatible with her biology. Sometimes he just stood by the viewport while she watched the stars. He never asked questions she did not offer answers to. That restraint made her uneasy. On the fourth day, the ship received a priority alert. Lyrian felt it before she heard it, the vibration of engines shifting, the sharp change in atmosphere. Aaron entered her room quickly. We've been tracked. Her spine stiffened. By my people. By a Kyrlian hunter group, he confirmed. They followed the debris trail. Her first instinct was fear. Her second was shame. They will destroy you, she said. They do not negotiate. We know, Aaron replied. That's why command wants information. She looked away. You think I will betray them? I think you'll choose, he said. That's different, she laughed bitterly. Choice is a human luxury. Not anymore, he said. They moved to a secure briefing room. Officers watched her with cautious interest. No one spoke to her like an object. Still, she felt their eyes. A hologram flared to life, showing 3 Kyrlian warcraft approaching fast. Lyrian stared at the image. That formation, she said quietly. They are hunting, not chasing. What's the difference? A commander asked. They expect resistance, she replied, and they are prepared to burn everything to remove it. Silence followed. Aaron glanced at her. Can you help? She hesitated. Every lesson drilled into her screamed no. Helping humans meant exile, death, worse. But another memory surfaced. A quiet room, a blanket, a human who had let her break without using her. Yes, she said, I can. She explained Kyrlian tactics in simple terms, how they anticipated fear, how they punished hesitation, how they never expected mercy and never planned for it. They will assume you will retreat, she said, because that is what they would do. So we don't, Aaron said. A plan formed quickly, risky, human. When the hunter ships arrived, they found no fleeing target. Instead, the human vessel held position, weapons cold, power signatures low. The Kyrlians hesitated. That was the opening. Human strike drones launched in silence, not attacking ships but sensor arrays, blinding instead of killing, confusing instead of destroying. Lyrian watched from the command deck, claws digging into her palms. They are angry now, she whispered. That means they're sloppy, Aaron replied. The first volley came seconds later. The ship shook. Alarms rang. Lyrian's breath hitched, old fear clawing up her throat. She felt the pull of panic, the urge to curl inward and disappear. A hand touched her arm. Erin stood beside her, steady. "Stay with me," she did. The battle was fast and brutal. Human weapons struck precise points. Engines failed. One hunter ship exploded after a miscalculated turn sent it into its own allies' firing line. The third ship fled. Silence fell again. Lyrian realized she was shaking. "You saved lives," a human officer said to her, not grudgingly, not with suspicion, with respect. She did not know how to respond. Later, alone in the observation bay, she stared into space. The stars felt different now, less hostile. That scared her more than war. Erin joined her without speaking. "My people will hunt me now," she said. "Then they'll have to get through us," he replied. She looked at him sharply. "You would fight a war for one alien." "No," he said. "I'd fight to protect someone who chose us." Her throat tightened. That night the nightmares returned, sharper than before. Not of pain, but of being torn between two worlds. She woke gasping, heart racing. The room felt too large, too empty. Without thinking, she left it. Her feet carried her down quiet corridors until she reached the small common area near the observation deck. The lights were low. Someone sat there. Erin, he looked up, surprised. "You okay?" She stood frozen, pride warring with fear. Finally, stiffly, she sat on the far end of the bench. Minutes passed. The ship creaked softly as it adjusted course. A distant sound echoed, metal shifting. Lyrian flinched hard. Before she could stop herself, she slid closer. Not touching, just closer. Erin noticed but said nothing. Her breathing slowed. After a while she spoke, voice low. "Among my people, closeness is ownership." "Among mine," Erin said, "it's optional." She considered that. Slowly, carefully, she leaned sideways until her shoulder brushed his arm. He did not react. She leaned more, curling inward, drawing her legs up, not collapsing, choosing. Her head rested against his chest. She could hear his heartbeat, steady, human. Her eyes burned. "I am not weak," she murmured. "I know," he said quietly. She stayed there until sleep took her again. This time she did not dream of chains. She dreamed of standing in the open, unowned, unafraid. And for the first time since the war began, Lyrian did not feel like prey. She felt like someone who had chosen where to stand. 2 days after the battle, the human ship entered a secured corridor of space. Communication buoys lit up one by one, sending encrypted signals. The crew grew tense in a quiet, focused way. This was not fear, it was preparation. Erin found Lyrian in the observation bay, watching a blue-white star spin slowly below them. "Command wants to talk to you," he said. She stiffened. "Interrogation. Conversation," he corrected. "With witnesses, your choice if I stay." She hesitated only a moment. "Stay." The briefing chamber was larger this time. Several senior officers were present, along with a diplomatic AI corps. No weapons were drawn, no restraints waited. That alone told her how different humans were. A gray-haired woman in a fleet uniform spoke first. "Lyrian of the Caerlean Outer Clans, thank you for assisting our ship. Your actions saved lives." Lyrian inclined her head slightly. "Respect given, not demanded." "We have received signals," the officer continued. "Your people have issued a reclamation claim. They are demanding your return." Lyrian felt her chest tighten. "And if I refuse?" "They have threatened retaliation," the officer said calmly. "Against nearby colonies, against us." Silence filled the room. Erin's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The officer looked directly at Lyrian. "We will not hand you over by force, but we need to know your intentions." This was it. Among her people, this moment would not exist. Choice would be removed. She would be seized, punished, erased. Here she was being asked. "I will not return," Lyrian said. Her voice shook, but she did not lower it. "Not as property, not as proof of dominance." The officer nodded slowly. "Then we will prepare for response." Lyrian blinked. "You will fight for me." "We will defend our people," the officer replied. "You are included." Something in Lyrian broke open then, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet collapse of a belief she had carried all her life. After the meeting, alarms rang. Not attack alarms, evacuation warnings. Multiple Kyrlian warships had crossed into neutral space. Not hunters this time, enforcers. They want to make an example, Lyrian whispered as she watched the tactical display. They will target civilians. Not if we stop them, Aaron said. But you are not ready, she said. They brought siege weapons. Aaron met her eyes. So did we just don't like using them. The human fleet assembled quickly. Smaller ships moved ahead, forming protective screens. Larger carriers held back power building. Lyrian was placed in a secure command alcove, not locked in, just shielded. She hated that she was relieved. The first Kyrlian transmission cut through the room, sharp and commanding. "Return the asset," a cold voice demanded. "She belongs to us." Lyrian stepped forward before anyone could stop her. "I belong to myself." The silence that followed was heavy with disbelief. "You are damaged," the voice replied. "You will be corrected." Aaron moved beside her. "She's under our protection." "You cannot protect weakness," the Kyrlian commander sneered. "No," Aaron said evenly, "but we can protect choice." The transmission cut. The battle began. Space lit up with fire and motion. Kyrlian ships advanced in rigid formation, weapons blazing. Human ships responded with flexible movement, drawing fire away from evacuation lanes. Explosions shook the command deck. Lyrian gripped the console as the floor trembled. Every instinct screamed at her to hide, to curl inward, to survive by disappearing. Instead, she leaned forward. "They will target the carriers next," she said. "They see them as symbols." "Can we stop them?" a human officer asked. "Yes," Lyrian replied, "but it will cost you." "We're already paying," Aaron said. She gave instructions quickly, not as a servant, not as a tool, as an ally. Human ships adjusted course, spreading out, forcing the Kyrlians to overextend. One human escort ship took a direct hit. "Life pods launching," the AI reported. Without thinking, Lyrian moved. "Bring us closer," she said. "We can shield them." "That puts us in range," an officer warned. Aaron looked at Lyrian. She met his gaze, no fear now, just resolve. "Do it," he said. The ship surged forward. Shields flared. Another blast struck them, tearing through an outer section. The impact threw Lyrian off her feet. Pain exploded through her side. Aaron was there instantly, catching her before she hit the floor. He pulled her close, shielding her with his body as emergency fields snapped into place. "I'm fine," she gasped. "You're bleeding," he said. She pushed against his chest, trying to stand. "The pods, they're safe," he said firmly. "Stay with me." Her vision blurred. She hated that weakness returned at the worst moment. "I chose this," she whispered. "Do not regret it." "I don't," he said without hesitation. The battle turned. Human reinforcements arrived from hyperspace, surrounding the Kyrlian formation. Cut off, outmaneuvered, the enforcers began to retreat. One did not. The lead Kyrlian ship charged directly toward the human carrier, weapons primed. "They will ram," Lyrian said weakly, "to prove dominance." Aaron didn't hesitate. "All forward guns, target engines." The volley was precise. The Kyrlian ship shuddered, engines failing. It drifted, powerless. Silence fell. The remaining Kyrlian ships fled. Medical teams rushed in. Lyrian was placed on a stretcher, pain finally overwhelming her. As they moved her through the corridors, she caught Aaron's hand. "Do not let them cage me," she said faintly. He squeezed her fingers. "Never." She woke later in the medical bay, lights dimmed. Her body ached, but she was alive. Aaron sat nearby, exhaustion written into every line of him. "You stayed," she said. "Of course." She shifted, wincing. "My people failed." "They chose fear," he said. "You didn't." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Among my kind, strength is taking. Among yours, it is standing still and letting another lean on you." He smiled slightly. "Something like that." She hesitated, then slowly reached for his arm. This time there was no panic. No nightmare chasing her. She leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. "I am not your pet," she said softly. "I know," he replied. Outside the ship, the stars burned on unchanged. But inside, something permanent had shifted. The war was not over yet. But Lyrian knew now where she stood, and she would not be moved again. The days that followed were quiet in comparison to the chaos that had come before, but for Lyrian, they were some of the hardest. Not because of danger, human weapons could handle that, but because of decisions she now had to make. Choice, she realized, was heavier than chains. The medical team released her from intensive care. Her wounds had healed, leaving faint marks across her pale blue skin. Each scar told her story, but none defined her. She could walk, stand, even move freely through the ship, yet she noticed the weight of her own freedom. There were no guards, no cages, no soldiers ready to command her. Just humans, and one soldier who had already proven he would not treat her as property. Aaron Hale found her on the observation deck, the same place she had first watched the stars in awe and fear. The ship glided past a massive gas giant, swirling with blues and whites that reminded her of home. Only this home was not hers, not yet. "Thinking?" Aaron asked, leaning against the rail beside her. Lyrian didn't answer immediately. She stared at the giant planet, tracing the winds with her eyes. "I am thinking," she said finally, "of what comes next." Aaron nodded. "You have options. Return to your people, stay with us, or find somewhere else. It's your choice." "Return," her voice hardened. "Do you know what will happen if I do?" "I have an idea," Aaron said. His voice was calm but firm. "They will try to take you. They will see your survival as a weakness, and they will punish anyone who helped you." Her heart sank. That was exactly what she had feared. And yet something within her stirred, a spark she had never felt before. She had survived the impossible, trusted someone she shouldn't have, and learned that trust could exist without fear or chains. "I cannot return," she admitted. "Not as a pawn. Not as a lesson for my people." Aaron glanced at her, his expression unreadable. Then he said simply, "Then you stay if you want." Lyrian's eyes searched his face for trickery. There was none, only the quiet strength she had come to rely on. She swallowed. "And if my people come?" "They will," he said, "and we'll face them together, not as master and captive, as allies, as equals." The words felt strange to her. Her entire life equality had been impossible. Her species measured dominance, fear, and ownership. But now she felt it differently, an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Over the next cycles, Lyrian learned the ways of humans. She studied their tactics, their culture, their strengths. She realized that humans fought not only with weapons but with ingenuity, resilience, and unity. She taught them about Kyrlian strategies in return, sharing knowledge that had once made her a target. In doing so, she found power, not through force, but through understanding. Aaron often sat nearby during these sessions, not as a teacher, not as a guard, but as someone who shared the quiet moments between knowledge and learning. Lyrian noticed how he gave her space when she needed it, offered guidance when she asked, and stood silently when she just needed to think. Each action was a choice she could not predict, a demonstration of a humanity that valued trust over domination. One evening, the ship received signals from a neutral world. Colonies there had been threatened by factions loyal to her old people. The humans moved quickly to provide protection. Lyrian offered her guidance willingly. She had faced her fears before. Now she could act to save others. In the command deck, she watched as human drones shielded the colonies. The Kyrlian pursuers hesitated, unable to predict the humans' unconventional strategies. Lyrian realized something she had never understood before. Humans were strong not because they crushed enemies, but because they inspired loyalty and courage. After the threat passed, she walked through the ship alone. She paused near the observation deck, memories of her first days still fresh. Aaron was already there, leaning against the rail, watching the stars. "You've changed," he said without looking at her. She considered his words. "Perhaps, Or perhaps I see the world differently. You trust humans now, he said simply. She looked at him sharply. Trust does not come easily to my kind. No, he agreed, but it can. Her gaze softened. She thought of all she had endured. The war, the escape, the fear, and the moments of quiet human kindness that had reshaped her understanding. And she thought of him, the human who had never used her fear, who had let her choose, who had fought not to own but to protect. She started, but the words faltered. Aaron stepped closer, giving her room without crowding. You don't have to explain, he said. Her pride wrestled with something unfamiliar, gratitude, warmth, maybe even companionship. She looked down, ashamed at her own vulnerability. Slowly she lowered herself to sit beside him, not curled up in fear but with a quiet intention. I am not your pet, she said softly, echoing the words that had once been defiance. I know, Aaron replied, steady and unshaken. They sat in silence, letting the hum of the ship and the distant stars fill the space between them. It was no longer fear that defined her. It was choice. Later, when Lyrian walked through the corridors of the ship, crew members watched with curiosity and respect. She moved with a new confidence. She was still Caerlean, proud, strong, intelligent, but she had learned a truth that her people would never teach. That strength could coexist with kindness, that survival could coexist with trust, and that freedom did not have to be earned with chains. The humans did not make her weaker. They had made her capable of choosing for herself. Weeks passed, and the war that had brought her here faded into memory. Peaceful patrols replaced skirmishes, colonies rebuilt, ships carried trade instead of battle. Lyrian became a bridge between species, her knowledge invaluable. And she remained beside Aaron, not because she had to, not because she owed anything, but because she chose to. One night, as the ship sailed past a nebula that shimmered with reds and golds, Lyrian rested her head lightly on Aaron's shoulder. She closed her eyes and let the warmth of human presence anchor her. Do you regret it? He asked quietly. Regret. She thought of all she had lost and all she had gained. No, she said firmly, I regret nothing. I have learned more than survival. I have learned trust. He smiled softly. That's more than most ever do. Her eyes opened, silver reflecting the nebula outside. She looked at him with a clarity that surprised herself. Among my people strength is taken, she said. Among humans it is given freely, and it is still real. Aaron nodded, understanding what she meant without question. Strength is choice, he said, and you've chosen well. Lyrian leaned back against him, feeling the rhythm of his heartbeat. She thought of all the fear she had carried, all the lessons in violence and dominance. They felt distant now, like shadows she had left behind. I am not your pet, she said once more, though this time the words were a statement of fact, not defiance. I know, he replied, steady and unwavering. The stars moved past the viewport, endless and bright. The galaxy stretched before them, full of dangers and possibilities alike. Lyrian had survived, she had fought, she had chosen, and now, for the first time, she was free. Freedom, she realized, was not the absence of danger, it was the presence of choice. And in the quiet glow of human ingenuity and human trust, she had found something far stronger than fear: loyalty, understanding, and the courage to stand beside another, not as a captive, but as an equal. The galaxy waited, and Lyrian was ready. Beside her, Aaron Hale did not move, did not speak. He simply was there, and that presence, steady and unwavering, became the anchor she would always trust. She closed her eyes, breathing the artificial air of the ship, feeling something she had never felt among her own people: peace. The stars shone on, endless and eternal. And Lyrian, the alien girl who had once curled in fear, now chose her own path, strong, proud, and unafraid. And for the first time, she realized that she had never been alone. Humans had shown her the power of respect, the strength of choice, and the quiet heroism that came not from conquest, but from protecting and understanding. In that moment she whispered, almost to herself, I am not your pet. And Aaron replied softly, as if confirming a truth the universe already knew, "I know." The galaxy was vast, full of wars yet to come, of alliances yet to be forged. But Lyrian had survived the first great battle, the one within herself, and that victory was hers alone. Beside her, a human soldier who had once carried her from a broken escape pod remained still and steadfast. Together, they faced the stars, ready for whatever might come next. And for the first time, the alien girl understood something her people never could. Freedom was not just the absence of chains. Freedom was the power to choose who you trusted and whom you stood beside. And she had chosen wisely.